Hey guys, welcome to today's video. We're going to be going over this week's slate of NFL games and predicting who's going to come out on top in each game. Before we get started though, please drop a quick like and a sub on today's video. It would really help my channel grow. I'd really appreciate that. With that said, let's dive right into the video and I hope you enjoy. Hey guys, so welcome to my Week 15 game picks. I've been a little bit more formal dressed than usual. Had an event tonight. Was too lazy to change out of it. But nonetheless, let's dive into this with a big Week 15 game picks here. So let's start with Baltimore and Cincinnati. Baltimore coming off a tough loss against Cleveland. Lamar Jackson got injured in that game. And at the end of the day, they just struggled with injuries, and they've been struggling with injuries all season, really from the get-go. Obviously losing their starting running back and some of their players in their secondary. They dealt with injuries all year. Then you've got Cincinnati, who's coming off a tough loss against the San Francisco 49ers in an overtime game. I think Cincinnati goes and gets the job done. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase were really playing really well for that Cincinnati Bengals team. Although they couldn't get the job done against the 49ers, I still think the Bengals have got to win this game. I think they should be the favorite, especially with Lamar Jackson dealing through some injuries maybe. So I like Cincinnati in this game here. Now we've got the Jacksonville Jaguars and the New York Jets, and I think this is a game where I'm actually going to favor the New York Jets at home. They did lose this to the New Orleans Saints last week, but Jacksonville got shut out by the Tennessee Titans, and they're not really great defense. More importantly, though, you got to notice that Trevor Lawrence threw 4 interceptions last week against a pretty bad Titans secondary. So I think the Jets and the more or less average defense they have is going to be more than enough to deal with that Jacksonville offense that really seemingly is deteriorating. Other than Marvin Jones, who I thought had a pretty good week last year, I think 6 catches for 70 yards, maybe 7 catches for 60 yards, or something like that. James Robinson isn't getting touches. It's just ugly there in Jacksonville. So I think New York gets the win at home. Now we've got another massive game. Obviously, we had this game 2 weeks ago, but Buffalo, New England. This is more or less for the division here, as New England currently in control of that number 1 seed in the AFC East. Buffalo coming off a loss against the Buccaneers. New England ran the ball 45 times against that Buffalo team. But to be honest, I think this is where Buffalo gets their revenge. I do. I don't think New England's going to be able to run the ball that many times again and get the win. I think that they'll have to start throwing the football, and then I think Buffalo will get the ball more often. Their offense is more explosive and more deadly, and although they did lose to the Bucs last week, I think Buffalo will get the rebound win there in New England. Big win for them, too. Now we've got the Chargers and the Houston Texans. The Chargers are rallying. They've played some really good football of late. Beat the Giants big time this week, beating them 37-21. Austin Eckler had a really big game. Justin Herbert had a big game. And although they didn't have Keenan Allen, they really, they were still able to cruise into a victory. Obviously, Houston has been struggling all year, and last week was no different as they lost to the Seattle Seahawks, who have been pretty bad this year. Even with Russell Wilson. So tough loss for Houston coming into this week. I think the Chargers will continue the momentum and keep the lightning bolt going as they face the Texans. Now we've got Pittsburgh and Kansas City. Pittsburgh almost came back against the Vikings on Thursday Night Football last week, but fell a little bit short as Ben Roethlisberger seemingly plays worse and worse each week. But, with Kansas City, I mean, they absolutely, destroyed the Raiders. I mean, massive win, 46-9, or maybe it was 48-9. I think it was 48-9. They absolutely destroyed Pittsburgh. I think that they're going to do the same thing against, or they absolutely destroyed the Raiders. I think they're going to do the same thing against Pittsburgh this week, as the Chiefs are really rolling, and they really found the groove in the latter parts of the season. Remember, they started off the season pretty slowly, but they're playing some really good football of late. Now we've got Denver, we've got Las Vegas. Denver coming off a big win against the Lions. They played a solid football game, complimentary football, playing really good on the ground and pretty good, defensively to be a pretty bad Lions team. And then the Raiders, I mean, they were a dumpster fire last week against the Kansas City Chiefs. It's definitely a big bounce back game for the Raiders. Big potential to get back into that playoff race as they sit, I think, at 6-7. But I think the Broncos have this game under control, and I think that they'll win the game. That AFC West is really tight after the Chiefs. It looks like they will end up running away with the division. Sure, it's close at the top. The Chargers, I think, are really a game or half a game behind them. But nonetheless, I think this is where Denver gets the win. They're just playing better football of late, and the Raiders have dropped a couple. They've dropped a couple games this year that I think that they should have won. So overall, I think Denver gets the win here. Now we've got San Francisco and Tennessee. I think this is a massive game, obviously, for both teams trying to stay in that playoff race. Tennessee is still number 1 in their division, but with the Colts surging of late, and their run game really surging, in Tennessee kind of on the decline, even though they did beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. I I don't think Tennessee gets the win here. I think San Francisco is playing better football. They're playing more competitive football. They're playing against better teams too. Uh, so with that said, I just think San Francisco gets the win here. I think that overall, their run game was there last week, their defense was there last week, their timely play was there last week, winning in overtime. I thought Jimmy Garoppolo had a good game. So overall, I think San Francisco gets the win, especially against the Tennessee team. One, I don't really trust their defense. I know they had a really big defensive day against the Jacksonville Jaguars, but more importantly, I don't really trust their offense without a true ground game. They didn't even really have that strong ground game last week against Jacksonville, so I think San Francisco gets the win. Now you've got Cleveland, you've got Green Bay, two really big teams here that are trying to vie for these playoff spots. And I think Green Bay gets the win. Aaron Rodgers at the end of the day does Aaron Rodgers type things. And although that game against the Bears last week was way too tight, and you know what, it is what it is. I think Green Bay comes back at home against the Cleveland Browns. They've been banged up. Might have lost Kareem Hunt for a little bit. So I think that they come back and they fight and they'll win this game. I just don't think the Cleveland at this point in the season has what it takes, especially with the injuries they've had. They did beat the Ravens last week. Big win for them, but I still think Green Bay gets the job done. Now we've got Arizona. We've got Indianapolis. I think this is actually a really interesting game, Saturday game in the NFC-AFC cross-conference matchup here. But I think Arizona comes away with the win. I think Indianapolis is going to really try and run the ball, but Arizona is able to score a lot of points through the air. They've done that all season. Kyler Murray's been the most efficient quarterback in the league, and I think that he'll continue to do that against that Colts defense. Now, this is a massive game, too, as a Dolphins fan here. Dolphins playing the New Orleans Saints. The Saints did get the win against the Jets last week. Taysom Hill and what he's been able to do for quarterback for that Saints team has really taken their offense to a new level. And Alvin Kamara has been productive with Taysom Hill. That passing game has been productive. Overall, they've been much more productive offensively, as well as a team with Taysom Hill under center. Dolphins coming off the bye week, they've won 5 straight. They're surging, and Tua Tagovailoa is playing the best football of his career. Jalen Waddle was looking into that, looking like that top 10 receiver or top 10 draft pick that everyone hoped for. I mean, he's got 86 catches for 940 yards or so and 4 touchdowns this season. Arguably, he's been the best rookie wide receiver. And I think that the Dolphins, they get the rest, they get some guys back. And maybe they get a running back too because Myles Gaskin and Savon Ahmed went on the COVID list this week. But overall, I think the Dolphins get the win on Monday Night Football in New Orleans. They get a win to keep their playoff hopes alive after starting the season 1-7, trying to move to 6 straight wins on the season. This is another massive game here. Giants and Eagles. Eagles were on the bye week this week, and the Giants came away with a loss. I think the Eagles, they come back. Jalen Hurts is healthy. He's back. He's ready to go. The defense is healthy. The Giants, another crushing loss last week. They didn't have Daniel Jones, but still weren't able to win. And I think the Eagles get the job done. I mean, last time out, Giants beat the Eagles. I think that was a dumb game. It was just a stupid game from an Eagles perspective, but I think the Eagles bounce back here and get the win after the bye week. Now you've got Atlanta, you've got Detroit. Detroit coming off a loss. Atlanta coming off a big win against the Carolina Panthers. They've won 4 straight in Carolina. And they're kind of getting some momentum going. A.J. Terrell's having a really nice season at cornerback. Really quietly, too. Not a super loud guy there. But overall, I think that they're going to be able to beat this Detroit Lions team. Both teams are kind of built similarly with some offensive weapons, some veteran-ish quarterbacks that play similar games if you look at Jared Goff and Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's definitely better. But I think at the end of the day, Atlanta will be able to put up more points, and their defense is playing better than Detroit is. So overall, I think Atlanta gets the win. And you've got Tampa Bay, and you've got Carolina. Carolina's come off a couple straight losses. Cam Newton has not looked like the answer at quarterback. And, Tom Brady did what Tom Brady does best. Won a crucial game last week against a good team, the Buffalo Bills. And I think with a little bit of weaker competition here, I think Tampa Bay gets the win. Now you've got the Rams. You've got Minnesota. And, this is a really interesting game. Minnesota's been in so many tightly contested games over, this entire season. And I think that they kind of sneak a win here against this Rams team. This Rams team has been putting up a lot of points this season. Their offensive attack has been really good. And at the end of the day, I thought that Minnesota played really well against that Steelers team last week. They got the job done. Their defense kind of crumbled late, but they did what they had to do. And I think if they can pressure Matthew Stafford, they can run the ball effectively, they get the win. And I think this is definitely an upset here. But I think that Minnesota at home, trying to stay in the playoff picture, trying to stay in that playoff race, I think they get the sneaky win here at home. Now you've got Chicago and you've got Seattle, 2 teams that are really not in the playoff picture anymore. But I liked what Seattle did last week against the Houston Texans. I thought they threw the ball really effectively, utilizing Tyler Lockett, but more importantly, the strong ground game behind Rashad Penny. I think all that, if you bring that to Chicago team at home, especially also playing at it's not Central Philly, I forget what it's called now, but in Seattle, it's a tough place to play. I think Seattle gets the win. Now we're going to have Dallas and Washington. We saw these 2 teams last week, really close game. Washington not able to win that one as Taylor Heineke got injured in that game. Kyle Allen had to step in. I think this game Dallas wins again. I think that they did enough to ice the game out late. Dak Prescott threw a pick six, Cole Holcomb pick six towards the end of that first half or second half of the game to get the Washington football team back in it. But if the Dallas Cowboys can run the football effectively and they can throw the football effectively, not make any mistakes, turning the ball over, I think they get the win against Washington, especially with some of the quarterback issues they've had this season. So those said, those are my game picks of the week. Do you agree with them? Why or why not? Leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section down below. With that said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, see ya.